Hi, it's Danny Fleming of the MA Properties Online team. We're here for another episode of Coffee with MA Properties Online, and our guest today is Andrew Marquis of Guaranteed Rate, and he's going to help clarify some of the things, some of the burning questions we have with regard to mortgage financing. Thanks, Andrew.
Thanks so much for having me, Danny.
Okay, so Andrew, what are interest rates currently, and where do you think that they're headed?
Yep. So if I could answer this question with any precision, we probably wouldn't be here today. I'd be running the Federal Reserve. No, I'm only teasing. So, most of last year in 2016, Danny, we saw the 30-year fixed rate, which is kind of our benchmark, running about 3.5%. So that's what we saw most of the year. What happened was when Trump was elected, the interest rates went pretty much haywire. He talks a lot about pumping up the economy, getting things more stimulated, and I think what that does is it brings on fear about inflation. So, the Fed starts getting more serious about when they're going to raise rates, how many times they're going to do it, and really where rates are, I think everyone needs to understand is they're already predicting the future. So the rates that we're paying today are what we think is going to happen 6-12 months out from now.
Okay.
So, with kind of these assumptions about what Trump's going to do, whether or not he's actually going to do it, we don't know. But they've driven rates between November and December up almost a full %. So we saw rates go from 3.5% all the way up to about 4.5%. And it happens very, very quickly. So, what I always encourage my clients to do is if we're taking a mortgage application, it typically makes sense to lock the interest rate to protect that rate from going any higher. We do offer what's called a float down policy. So if interest rates go down during that process, we can look at a float down, but by not locking the rate, they're truly exposed. So, to kind of answer your question, where are they headed? Now, January comes about, and interest rates have actually come back down about 0.5%. So it's typical knee-jerk reaction. Things go way up. They start to kind of simmer down. Right now, the 30-year fixed rate is hovering right around 4%. So, for those first-time
Which is still fantastic.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So the first-time home buyers, they have that preset notion of 3.5% as the rate. It seems like a high rate, but when you look at history, it's still almost an all-time low rate. And I think in terms of where it's headed, I think that rates are going to gradually climb this year. I do think that. I don't think it's going to go overnight like it did back in November. But if I had to predict, I'd say by the end of the year, 4.5 to 4.75 is what I would say at this point. It really depends on what Trump actually delivers.
Okay, thank you very much, Andrew. That's very educating. Is that a phrase? Very educating? I don't know. Anyway, that concludes another episode of Coffee with MA Properties Online, and thank you very much for watching. Andrew Marquis of Guaranteed Rate. You'll find his information coming up next, and thank you for watching.
Hi there, it's Marcus Collins here. Thanks for watching this episode of Coffee with MA Properties Online on YouTube. If you want to stay up to date with future episodes, click subscribe just below me or click on this list to see lots of other great videos. Thanks for watching.